And so for folks that may not know you that live in San Angelo, kind of tell us where you are, how you got there, you grew up here, that sort of thing.
Yeah, my name is Kennen Dickens. I am currently in Berlin. I'm on the eastern side of the city. It's beautiful and sunny out, so that's been really nice. I am from San Angelo, born and raised, and went to Waco to attend Baylor for a couple years. And then once that was done, I essentially set my sails to come over here for a couple years. So that's where we are.
All right. So obviously you've been in Berlin now a little over a month, and all of the outbreak obviously started in Europe before it did in the States. So kind of talk about what you've seen from the time it started over there to where y'all are today and what y'all are seeing as far as the social distancing there and the shutdown of certain things in Berlin.
Of course. Yeah. About a month ago, there was very little conversation of the COVID virus. We just saw it as this thing that was taking place in other countries and was a problem in Italy, but hadn't quite arrived in Germany yet. And then after, I think about 2 weeks ago, that's when things began to shift, and there was a much more definite realization of, oh, we're about to experience some changes. Right now, they're not, in your normal day, you don't see them too profoundly, but they're still very much there. Since I'm a student, I'm not quite as heavily affected. I still go to classes, but that's because my school is private, my language school. But other schools, like public schools, have all been closed. Major public transit has had a vast decrease of people on it. And most major businesses like pubs and I think some stores are about to start closing, but all the gyms have closed. All of the larger areas like theaters, those have closed. Any large festivals or functions have been delayed inevitably. So that's been quite a shift within 2 weeks.
Right. So obviously your parents are still in here in San Angelo. Have you been in contact with them? Are they concerned? Obviously, I would say they would be, but just kind of talk about that.
Yes. Yeah. So my parents and I have been in contact, just essentially swapping notes on how San Angelo and Berlin differ and how the responses have looked. And from what I can say, to be a little jokey, I think we still have more toilet paper than you guys do. So that's kind of fun. They've been keeping me up to date on what things look like in Texas, and I've been keeping them up to date on what things in Berlin. Germany responses have been, we're able to close off our borders. Whereas if Texas did that, that would be a whole nother story.
Right.
So, yeah. So we've been keeping in check. We've been checking on each other and just essentially staying calm.
Right. So tell me the differences, because obviously there's a lot of people that are giving the media in the States a hard time. How has it looked for media in Germany and the way that they're reporting everything as opposed to the way you're hearing maybe from your parents how it's being done here?
Yeah, I can't say as much on everybody's experience with media here, but my experience with media here has been essentially the communication of one thing consecutively one thing after another changing. So the school's closed, and then information on how to stay safer in isolation has been shared, and then the closing of the borders. Everything has just been essentially like a ticking down a list, which seems very German, very practical, one thing after another. But I have seen some people hurrying to local grocery stores. My local grocery store has been having shortages on various different types of food. And so people are definitely responding, but I don't think they're quite rushing. They're not desperate, if that describes it. I haven't found any feeling of desperation, but I will say whenever you're on what's called the S-Bahn here, which is a major form of transport, if anybody sneezes, they get the stank eye and people will move away. They don't play around. So yeah, people are wearing masks, people are wearing gloves, and people are carrying around a lot of hand sanitizer.
Sure. So have you, in your circles, I guess with some of the other students that are there, what has been the conversations that y'all have had? Have you heard maybe some of your German counterparts or people that you're working with? Did they have a sense of being scared or fearful of what's going on? Or you said they're pretty German, and if you know any Germans, they're that way. They're pretty matter of fact.
Yeah. There's definitely been a feeling of fear. In my language school, I have a German teacher, but then I have classmates that are from all over Japan, all over the Middle East, all over Europe, essentially. And so it's been various different responses. I found that those who have people in their life, such as like elderly folks that live with them, they're much more likely to be very conscious and very conscientious, because they just don't want to pose any risk for the people that they have close proximity with. From what I've found from my friends that are in other classes with other teachers, their teachers have also been very worried. So I think it just varies. It varies. But yeah, I think the general experience I've had was just a worry of making things worse for those in the population that are at higher risk.
Right. Yeah. So since I got you for a few minutes, anything you would like to say to your friends in San Angelo or your parents to let them know that you're okay and that everything's, I'm sure you've been in contact already, but.
Oh, yes. Yeah, things here in Berlin are dandy. The chocolate is still delicious. The coffee's still flowing, and all the parks are open, and people are enjoying themselves in the fresh air, but at a safe distance. So things are great. Love you guys.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you again for your time today, and we appreciate it.
Thank you so much.